So, hello, I guess I'm live right now. Sorry for the late start. This is kind of a weird setup. My wife's supposed to be joining me tonight, but I guess things are kind of going haywire. So, this is just going to be a very, very laid back, late night election stream. I figure that most people are probably fairly fed up with the fast paced horse racing. It's not really my thing. So if anyone wants to ask questions, just @reply me. You have to @reply me if you want me to see it. I imagine it will be a shorter stream too, and I'm not so sure that this is necessarily going to be permanently on my channel. I'll probably post it on the Catholic one's channel, my wife's channel, if it comes to that. Eventually, I think she's going to be coming. We were going to play video games or classic video games during this time, but given that she's still getting ready... Whenever a woman says that she wants 5 minutes to get ready, it's never just 5 minutes. Just keep that in mind. That's the misogynistic tip for the day. But at any rate, I have got the election results here. And it looks like people, at least on Twitter, are saying that Trump is winning. I should have probably asked, is my audio coming in all right? I'm not streaming on my usual setup, so I guess I should always ask that, right? I should always ask if I'm actually transmitting the voice. Dave is too boomer for Mary. What does that mean? Okay, hold on. I think we have entrance here. Let's just rearrange things. Okay. All right. Okay, there we go. Presto changeo, she's here.
I look more undead with the makeup than without.
Okay. Well, that's what having a child does, right? It makes you look undead or something. Mm-hmm. Anyway, guys, I suppose one of us is going to be playing video games and the other one's going to be answering the chat. That's more or less how we should set it up.
It's probably good for the sake of our marriage.
Yeah, so our marriage is kind of organized around the idea that we split up tasks and don't step on each other's toes when we're doing them. Mm-hmm. So someone's saying Trump is winning on leads. What?
Lower your voice.
Oh, okay. That's because the
baby's sleeping.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, I have to be able to have the microphone pick me up here.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, this is the kind of stream it's going to be. My prediction was that it would be a...
I'll be right back.
Oh, okay. It looks like the baby woke up. Well, there you go. That's my booming voice. My prediction was that it was going to be basically a toss-up between Trump and Biden. But, I guess if I was going to further break down my vote, my instinct was that Trump would win because incumbents always win. And my sort of left brain take was that Biden had a better demographic game. So I guess this is sort of the contest over whether repeatability on incumbency or whether demographic trends are more powerful. And maybe this is just an indication that repeatability on incumbency is more powerful. I'm a bit high. Well, I guess I could turn down the gain a little bit. Maybe that would be a little bit better. Or I could just actually whisper. That might be also a good solution. Yeah, usually these things are just me alone, and I can only do them really late at night because I have to do them after bedtime for baby. And for that reason, usually the wife isn't present. But since we're going to do this together, it looks like it's going to be more or less flying by the seat of our pants. At any rate, I have absolutely nothing prepared. So aside from what you guys ask me and commenting on the election, that's really what the stream's going to be. So anyway, concurrent views are high. Well, I'm really going to... All right. Okay, so are we going to...
Okay, let's play.
Was that a zip it?
No, that was a... The fuck?
Oh.
Baby woke up.
Oh.
But he's back down. So, okay, so...
What game do you want to play?
The Divorce Simulator.
Oh, no, not the Divorce Simulator.
Especially the Divorce Simulator.
This is the game that makes us fight when we work together on playing it.
Yeah, we normally don't fight. We get along pretty well, but this game, it's because we have not assigned each other roles and how to solve problems in the game. Because if you don't assign roles to people, you're running around like chickens with their head cut off. But we have roles and hierarchy. And
this is the reactionary theory of how you can do base game playing or whatever. Okay, let's see if this works. Okay, so that's the game. So people recognize this. This is a version... Oops. Okay, I need to move this down. This is a version of The Incredible Machine. I guess I'll make it this big. Well, whatever. This is a really, really fly-by-night stream.
that's fine.
Okay. So the idea is you're supposed to build a Rube Goldberg machine, essentially, and then make sure that a certain task works. So how about you start the machine making, and I'll try to answer chats or whatever.
Okay, can you see the chats while I play the game?
Only if we move the chat window next to it. So can you move those so we can both see them?
How's that?
Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay, what do you think about Tucker's analysis that BLM ACAB riot stuff is a signal that Dems and Hispanics are not wanted in their coalition? So this is something that's kind of been... Tucker's analysis is that the Dems are alienating a percentage of their Hispanic vote. And there's a lot of truth to this. I think that any human being that's a rational, well-formed human being that's not completely manipulated by propaganda instinctively understands that chaos is bad and that the order imposed by police are good. Moreover, most Hispanics live in high-crime neighborhoods where they need to have police in order to stay safe. And they're not as amenable to these narratives about oppression that have kind of taken hold in the black community. And so they're a sought demographic for the Dems, to be sure. Now, I don't think that the Republicans are ever going to get more than, about 40% of the Hispanic vote. But if I think that there might be they might have to think twice if they think that they're going to rule America like they rule California. Again, the demographics will eventually give it to them, but I don't think the path is going to be that easy. Okay. In order for me to actually answer a question, I have to see it. There are some super chats, and I will eventually get to those. Obviously, I'll give them priority, but I'm going to have to wait until. Well,
you want me to open up? The screen?
No, it's fine. And the stream's young. I've given my wife my word that this will be a shorter stream. I can't compete with Sargon. Sargon was streaming for 8 hours today. Continuously. So the idea, what's the objective you're playing here?
I need to turn on the blender.
Okay, and so the idea is to get the mouse cage to...
I have the mouse cage moving. See this, that. It's an anti-gravity machine.
Oh yes, of course, anti-gravity machines. Okay, well...
I wonder if this... Can I rotate this thing?
Okay. Well, while she's doing that, I'll answer more questions. This is actually a good role for us. Maybe you can just play this game while I answer questions.
Yeah, of course.
Do you have any? What do you think about the Kenosha region becoming far redder this election than last? It seems like the unrest is actually waking people up. I mean, I don't know how eventually this kind of has to be the way it goes, right? If you can't create disorder and get rewarded for it. If that's the case, then all of our theories about politics go right out the window. Pingle Dingle says, do you have a hard and fast rule for judging if something is cozy or not? I have some rules of thumb. Maybe that should be a video at some stage. In order to be cozy, something has to be not unhealthy. That's a prerequisite, right? So it can't be horribly addictive in some way. It can't be explicitly dishonest. It can be fantastical, but it can't be like a lie, right? It can't be representing itself as something that it's not. And then it has to have a certain ability to last a long time. And it has to impart something that's useful to the sustenance of human life and human thriving. And I would say that that's sort of my 3 criteria for coziness. Hey, you did it. Did you win?
Yeah, puzzle complete.
Okay, cool. Okay, well, you don't need my help, do you?
Not yet.
I'm not going to give any help, but, that's... So Biden's about to speak, but I don't think he's going to concede. I heard a lot of the polling places have essentially stopped counting votes.
Pourquoi?
Hold on, I'm going to check to see.
Let's have a boo.
Well, you mean to the actual...
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's blink this out. Oh. And... Okay, well, I am really... This is a terrible... This is just not my night. Okay, here we go. Let's do that. Okay, so that should be appearing if we... Okay, let's see. What do we have here? I mean, this just tells us what's going on, right? This is Politico. I don't know. Those are the states, right? Oh, okay. See, I explicitly don't want to follow this election because it's...
Well, I'm sure people want to hear your opinion on the election. Why would they be tuning in?
My opinion is essentially that I think it's a straight-up toss-up, and I think what's going to be interesting to see how people react to this election, right? I think, this is one thing I should say, is that the real takeaway from this election is that...
How come the Associated Press still hasn't called Texas for Trump?
Well, because they're in... I mean, the Associated Press essentially... It leans left, right? It leans left. It's part of the establishment media. That's how it's going to go. But I think my takeaway from this election is really Tucker's take, and that's anarchy is on trial right now. And if anarchy works, if this last year worked for the Democrats, Biden wins. And if this last year didn't work for the Democrats, Trump wins. And I think that if Trump wins, and if Democrats think that anarchy hasn't worked for them, the people who are planning to write in the wake of a Trump re-election might be in for a really rude awakening, because they might have the municipalities of these Democratic cities immediately crack down on them.
So that doesn't even, your map doesn't even count Missouri, but here it says that he's already won Missouri.
By the way, I am on Entropy. Entropy should be running. Yeah, I have Entropy up here. The problem is Entropy does not show the at replies, which is why I never really... Well, I guess it does, though. What math level should I get if I want to be good at statistics? Well,
12.
I mean...
High school math, right?
The thing is, in order to learn statistics... In order to be statistics literate, you just need to have basic algebra. But in order to be, kind of engineering literate, you need to have calculus, because the most important thing about statistics is the normal distribution. And it's more or less, it's not that the normal distribution is, it's important for this very particular reason that a certain phenomenon, when they have a property called independence and they happen successively, they begin to resemble what's called a normal distribution or a bell curve or a Gaussian curve. And, however, this has certain limitations, but in order to really deal with that, you need to have a basic understanding of calculus. So if you just want to learn statistics, you probably need to get up to calculus 1 or 2 at least. But I think that the best way to understand statistics is just to use it a lot. Most of the problems that come from layman statistics just come from basic illiteracy about how probability works, and about how we talk about probability in the layman sense differs from how it actually works at an engineering level or at a political science level. And so that's our main problem. So would Lord of the Rings be cozy? Certainly. I certainly think Lord of the Rings would be cozy, right? I would say Song of Ice and Fire a little bit less so, right? Because Song of Ice and Fire has this kind of, I mean, and it's kind of funny because it has a sort of pornographic element to it. And it's not that I don't like things that have kind of a violence pornography to them. As most people know, I'm a real big fan of 1930s pulp, specifically things like Solomon Kane and Conan the Barbarian. And I've told my wife plenty of times that, Conan the Barbarian and Solomon Kane's like one long extended male fantasy, right? And so I don't think that these things are necessarily bad, but they're not cozy. It's sort of like you can eat junk food as long as you realize that it's junk food and that it's really bad for you, and you need to essentially combine it with something else that is healthy. And I think that's where I would essentially locate something like Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire. I think that George R. R. Martin has pretensions that what he's doing is what Tolkien was doing, but I don't think that's actually accurate at all. He's just a character. Yeah, so Entropy is open, guys. I can tweet it out again, but I have a hard time reaching the keyboard based on our setup. So, I will see super chats. As a matter of fact, I think that I can just go to super chats right now and answer the ones as they appear.
Do I get to play my game?
Oh, okay. Well, you can play the next level of your game, and then I'll just answer the chat as it appears on this screen, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for the weird format, guys. I mean, everyone should have some. I see someone talking about taking physics. I mean, yeah, everyone should have some physics. I'm a firm believer that almost nobody needs to know stochastic differential equations. I mean, they're useful for some things like Brownian motion, but I wrote an entire PhD thesis, with some of the stuff, and it rarely touched on stochastic differential equations. Okay, I probably should stop talking about math before I alienate most of my audience here. The Distributist, have you read The Book of the New Sun by Gene Wolfe? Yes, I love it. Actually, I have an admission. I don't think I've read all of the last book, but I love the first two. And, I feel like I need a big caveat with Gene Wolfe. And the big caveat with Gene Wolfe is that it's in a wonderfully evocative world. It's great language, but it has what I call the Silmarillion effect, where the characters are really unrelatable. So the problem in Gene Wolfe's The New Sun is that the protagonist, and I know people disagree with me on chat about this before, the protagonist tells you in the first chapter, I believe, that he's basically insane. And so you're going through this world that's hundreds of thousands of years in the future, that has, weird physics and weird history and has no relationship to our timeline, and the protagonist himself is an unreliable narrator. And so it's hard to know how you really ground yourself. People do things, and you find yourself asking, is this normal? Is this strange? I get the sense that he picked up, he got on the what do they call them? The roast striders or whatever, the horse-like things, but you don't know what that actually means or whether it's something that's unusual or common or whatnot, and you have to piece that all together. But that being said, I really like the idea of the Book of the New Sun, and some of the individual chapters in it are truly inspired. If you like Dune and Lord of the Rings, then you'll like Book of the New Sun. Yeah, I agree with that. Specifically, in order to like the Book of the New Sun, you have to like the mythology around Lord of the Rings and Dune. You can't be one of those people who likes Dune or Lord of the Rings because they like the adventure component to it. What I would say is read Book of the New Sun if you like the Dune sequels or if you like the Silmarillion. I feel very cautious about advocating Gene Wolfe to just any ordinary layman. I feel like you're gonna get kind of thrown. You're going to get kind of thrown for a wild one. People say Severian, the protagonist of the Book of the New Sun, never lies. That might be true, but he's frequently confused by events that couldn't possibly confuse somebody who's, in his own good senses. Like, he confuses people and thinks they're other people really routinely. So, and he thinks people that he's seen die have come to life again. And so you're wondering, do people routinely come back to life in this world, or is the protagonist insane? And I think that the best interpretation is that Severian, if not like out and out insane, he has a very loose grasp on things like causality and stuff like that. So, anyway, I don't have any more chats here that have the ant reply. So, what are you doing on the video game here?
Oh, I am failing horribly is what I'm doing. I have to find a way to do something.
My first super chat says Hunter Vibing, who I don't have any idea what that is. There's a few super chats from before the stream started. I'll take care of them at the end of the stream. But the first one that actually appears on Entropy just says Hunter Vibing. Let me read out the actual person who gave it if you don't.
Sure.
So Zero Kev for $2 says Hunter Vibing. And then in the chat currently, he has a clarification. Unism, have you heard Hunter Vibing by Feds? He's friends with NXP. I mean, I've heard of the YouTube channel Unism because of their awesome audiobooks of Mencius Molebug, but I haven't heard of Hunter Vibing per se. I mean, it sounds like Hunter Biden. I guess it's a parody of that. Do you have any place in your house where you can install acoustic paneling? It doesn't take that much to have a significant effect. Well, thanks for the suggestion, but we currently do not have that. The one internet that has good acoustics has terrible internet. And the first time I tried to stream there, I was losing the connection. I literally had to restart the stream. It was a total disaster. Probably this stream is a total disaster as well. So, what do you think of William Lane Craig? I'm currently reading his book, Philosophical Foundations for a Christian Worldview, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Well, I mean, William Lane Craig is like apex apologist for sure. Like, he's the person who does the best. Actually, do you want to play your video game still?
Thank you. I don't know what the objective is for this. I missed it, so I don't know how I'm going to...
Well, couldn't you just check the objective in the options? Do you want to play Heroes of Might and Magic instead?
I'm having a hard time manipulating this game. Gears can actually change the rotations.
I was thinking for a second, I could really go for a drink of water, too, before I start...
No, honey. Allow me.
Married life, it's fantastic. And a sandwich? No. Well, that's asking too much. Oh.
What did you say you wanted to?
No. It was
what did you want?
No, just the water.
Come on, what else did you say?
It was a joke.
What did you say?
I asked for a sandwich.
Oh, well, you ate all the sandwich meats.
I ate all the sandwiches. Okay. Okay, well, let's go back to answering the chat before the super chat. Yeah, I mean, William Lane Craig is like apex standard apologists. The problem is I never really appreciated his interaction with the New Atheists because I thought the New Atheists were just debating whether Christianity was good. He showed up to debate the cosmological argument, and all the people he was debating against just wanted to bash the talking snake. And they weren't interested in these high-level metaphysical concepts the way that William Lane Craig was. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm actually determined to finish this thing, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
So, other question from the chat. Is Machiavelli a reactionary? It's kind of a weird question. It's kind of like asking if Moses was a Christian or if, Elijah was a Christian. All reactionaries would probably say that their ideas either extend from, an acceptance of Machiavelli's descriptive points or a modification of his points. So, for instance, a lot of people consider Frederick the Great to be a reactionary with his anti-Machiavelli book. But his anti-Machiavelli book was simply... it was basically, and it's been a while since I read it, but it's basically the thesis, if I remember properly, is that it's it's Frederick the Great saying, like, okay, yeah, Machiavelli might be right descriptively, but everything he said about the prescriptions is wrong, because the best thing you can ever do is to be worthy of power, and therefore, and then rule in that way. So I say realistic politics is essential to any kind of reactionary worldview. And whether that's realistic politics from an Aristotelian point of view or whether it's from a Machiavellian point of view, I think that that's something that we can talk about. But Machiavelli is sort of a core pre-reactionary or pre-right-wing text. So I think, I don't know, I think calling him reactionary, again, it's kind of a weird designation. It's like calling Moses a Christian, right? Obviously Christians believed that in some sense Moses was a Christian, but it just doesn't sound right to say that. Society Man for $5. Glad to see you consistently making content. I hope both of you stay well, even as the U.S. continues to spiral further into chaos.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I don't know what you can really do. I love making content, so I'm not going to stop. I think the next thing I have planned to make is an advice video for people in their 20s. It's so funny. Like, I had this Shrek video, and I literally recorded half of it, so half of it's just sitting on my hard drive. All the part that actually has to do with Shrek sitting on my hard drive, I just haven't had time to edit it. To layer it on, like, I also have that video making project where I'm making a video for my father's autobiography, right? Which I need to, like, I can't, like, that's a family obligation that has to come first, right? Like, I can't blow that off like I blew off the distributism video, which I still will make, I promise, if it's the last, unless I die, right? Well, I guess I someday.
I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I don't walk away from projects, but they do get postponed sometimes, more than I'd like to admit. But I do not want to postpone personal family projects. So I appreciate that. It doesn't look like it looks like you're stressed. I'm not even trying to help you in this game.
I'm fine.
It seems like the differential on that gear isn't enough, right?
What's differential?
So, you know how a gearbox works for shifting gears inside of a car? Like, you had it going the right way, but the rubber band on the engine was the wrong way. Like, I think it went from small to large. So you got a lot of rotations on the engine equaling only a few rotations on the wheels, right?
Okay.
You want the differential to go the other way to get the acceleration, just like when you shift up gears, right?
So what do you want me to do about it?
Well, if I start modifying your design, they will see why this is a divorce simulator, right? So
go ahead.
No, I'm not gonna. I have.
Show me what you mean.
Oh, good Lord! This is differential.
Okay. I'm sorry. Keep going.
I literally saw this thing go the right direction, right?
I know. I'm having a hard time with the actual things on the screen, manipulating them. That's it. You see, like, the gear's not going. Maybe two gears can't go together. It has to be a small one with a big one. I don't know.
Well, we tried that. Why?
Get rid of the gear.
This is why I don't. Okay, so you're saying that this. Okay, so I have to just get rid of the gear.
There, and I make the big gear be friends with the little gear.
Okay.
And then, yeah. See how slow it is, though?
Yeah,
but too slow.
Okay, but what if if you go the differential in the opposite direction, right? Like, if you go like this, right? Maybe I'm not thinking properly, right? If you go big gear and then small gear, right? Like, would that be a little bit faster?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Now we need to put that one in the box. The last one in the box. Go on.
What? Wait, what? Like, no, wait. This is your game. Okay, never mind. So you know how this is how your car engine works, right? Mm-hmm. When it's going slow, the differential is the thing moving the wheel is bigger, right? And then it moves smaller because there's more revolutions per the gear. Well, I mean, modern transmissions don't work like that, but like, hold on, I need to scroll down in the chat here.
Oh, I guess you want the mouse for that. Here you go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, can we...
And do you want the mouse?
Hold on. Let me just capture the super chats as they come in. And okay. Yeah, you're just gonna have to be lucky if you want to use an @ reply. But I'll definitely catch all the super chats. You should hang an authentic Russian carpet behind the wall for Max Comfy.
They don't like the damask?
I think it's fine.
I think it's fine too.
We also have that meme painting on top of us too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have the
That was popular on Twitter.
the Japanese one. I mean, I don't know. I'm just like the biggest miser ever since I had like the kid. I just don't want to spend money on anything. So is Trump God Emperor yet?
No. Looks like the 1, 2, 3. The pending 6 states are leaning red at the moment, and if he gets those, he wins.
Oh, well, we had like a poll up recently about which chaos god was the worst for. Was the worst in 2020, right?
Oh yeah.
Someone mentioned that poll. I wonder if we ever finished that poll. Anyway, okay, so let's answer more questions. Whatever you do, don't make sure Helen doesn't answer any questions and docks your info to the snake that lives at the center of the garden.
Who's the snake?
I think they might be referring to El Presidente, but
oh,
okay, but
mean person.
Stream the game. We are streaming the game, right?
I'm not playing it. That's the thing.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. You want to keep on going with this thing? Sure. Okay. So someone says, I enjoyed your old chat. How about you control the mouse and then just periodically click on the chats as they come in, okay?
Okay.
I enjoyed your chat with Michael Woodley. Have you read his book, Modernity and Cultural Decline? I wouldn't mind reading that book. I feel like I got the gist of his book, but it sounds really interesting. Do you mind scrolling down so I can look at more questions? Thank you. So, Mr. Blank for $5. So, Dave, did you break your vow and vote? No, I did not vote. And it's pointless to vote. This is California. The state's not going anywhere. I think it's important that people conceptualize their role as citizens beyond voting. And insofar as I can express that, I think that's going to be a necessary thing. Move that gear over here to interface with the other one and then switch the differential on the other one around.
All right. I need this to go slow, though. Otherwise, it goes into this pit. So I think...
You need to go slow. Oh, well, then keep the differential as
exactly.
You had it. Yeah.
Okay, let's have a boo. Yes.
What? They haven't been able to see anything from the game? Oh, shoot. Oh, my God. This is just maximum boomer. I'm sorry, guys. There we go.
Well, we got the puzzles, see? The baby sleeping.
I will never learn how to keep my voice down low. Okay, we were streaming. We were just covering it up with the election results. That was the boomer moment. The election window was so big it covered the game. So now we should be able to see this horrible game. This horrible, horrible, horrible game.
Interesting.
Okay. The physical elites on this chat are pressing me.
Most interesting.
Well, can you scroll up because there are some more Well, see where are there highlights? That's the best. Yeah. What is your favorite English novel? Who's your favorite English author? Finally, who's your favorite English poet? My favorite poet is William Butler Yeats, who's not English but Irish, but he was Church of Ireland, which in my book makes him English. Yeah. I shouldn't say that. I think he was a big pro-Irish independence guy, but if William Butler Yeats is off the table, that's easy. Blake. Blake is my favorite English poet by far. I love the simplicity of Blake poems, and I really like his illustrations, his biblical illustrations. Obviously made famous by the Hannibal Lecter novel Red Dragon, which is his famous Red Dragon painting that he had for... Was that illustration meant for his poem The Marriage of Heaven and Hell? I don't know, but it was yeah. Favorite English novel. Well, my favorite English novel that comes to mind immediately is Middlemarch, but Canterbury Tales obviously doesn't count. English novel. Is there an English novel that I like more than Middlemarch? I feel bad because I've only read Middlemarch 1 and it was a really long time ago. And so I feel bad saying that's my favorite English novel. I mean, aren't there a lot of English novels that are quite good? I mean, it certainly isn't Carlyle. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I could say The Man Who Was Thursday, but I don't know. That it feels like cheating. I feel like any there was this terrible who was that guy? One of the first videos I did was this Catholic apologist who did a video for PragerU, and he did a, what was it, 45 books you needed to read before you died, and I'm gonna look oh my god, what was that? I need to find the guy's name before I besmirch some other Catholic thinker accidentally. Luckily, I can sort my videos by I can't sort them by least recent. Okay, well, it was the Vernaculus video. Peter Kreeft, that's it, right? Yeah, Peter Kreeft. I think that's his name. Anyway, Peter Kreeft did this, 45 books that you need to read before you die thing, which is kind of a nice little list. And I'm like, oh, wow, Peter Kreeft's a great intellectual. I really should pay attention to this list of books. And on this list of books, of the 45 things you need to read before you die, there were 6 Chesterton, 5 C.S. Lewis. It was every book C.S. Lewis ever wrote. And Shakespeare only appeared once, right?
I know, that's composers you should listen to before you die, or classical songs you listen to before you die. Mozart.
Yeah, it's basically it's just this. It's just a dispatch from the Catholic bubble, and I felt I just, when I saw that list, I just was gripped with a sense of despair because, it's one thing to say that you should read Chesterton's best book before you die, or you should read something from C.S. Lewis because he was a great Christian apologist. But if you're coming up with the 45 great books of all time, going from the Epic of Gilgamesh to David Foster Wallace, and you have one author, who's, if we're being quite honest, a very minor author in English language, C.S. Lewis, if he appears 5 times in your list, then what the heck's going on? You're obviously prioritizing apologetics over any kind of notion of quality. And I'm thinking Peter Kreeft is a big guy in apologetics. One of my first videos was about Peter Kreeft, defending him against this kind of this skeptic YouTuber who fell off the face of the earth post 2017, and called Vernaculus. And he doesn't have. I mean, he's this big arts and letters guy, and his entire worldview and what's a quality book is totally caught up in this bubble. I'm not some kind of multiculturalist, but I think that if you're a Catholic in the modern day and you're not reading one great piece of literature from Confucian culture, from Islamic culture, then you're not really engaging with the world as it is. And that's not to say that the religion of Catholicism is somehow equal to the religion of Islam. Far from it. You just need to have a certain amount of cultural literacy in the world we live in. Not to mention, like, you're leaving off all sorts of things like Paradise Lost. Was Paradise Lost too Protestant? I don't even think Dante's Divine Comedy was listed on Peter Kreeft's list of books you need to read before you die. I mean, he was a Catholic author who was one of the most important authors for hundreds and hundreds of years. He had one of the most evocative renditions of the medieval mind, and he's left off this list. I mean, I was just despairing. I mean, we just need a new set of Catholic intellectuals. Otherwise, we're never going to get anywhere. What did you think of Tim's debate with Vaush? I didn't watch it because I knew what would happen. I knew Vaush would pull back into the Mott of his little Mott and Bailey game, and because of that, and I knew Tim wouldn't call him on it, right? So, as soon as Tim comes in, as soon as Vaush, is it Bosch? It's not Vaush. As soon as Vaush comes in contact with somebody he thinks is moderate left, he immediately portrays himself as a social democrat, and all talk about property expropriation or forcing all businesses by pain of legalization to become co-ops. All of that just disappears. And he immediately becomes like good governance, social democrat with a little bit of progressivism on the side. And, I'm just so bored of this. I'm so bored of this two-faced doublespeak. and I knew he would do it, and I tuned in for 10 minutes to see him do it. And then when Aidan Paladin came on Friended in Stitches podcast, which I did watch, she explained exactly the game he played with Tim. And because of that, I felt like I didn't really need to comment on it any further, I suppose. Can we scroll down? There's more super chats. Just scroll down to this next super chat. Is that the next one? Okay, great. Michael Robertson, $20. Hey, Dave, thanks for keeping it cozy. Appreciate you. Well, thank you.
There we go.
Do you want to do any more of those reply chats? They're up there a little bit.
Sure,
just I'll read them.
Sure.
I've never read Wuthering Heights. If Shrek embodied the early 2000s, what do you think embodied the late 2010s upon reflection? If I came up with one video that would reflect how much I hated the 2010s, the early 2010s would be characterized by Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is a movie that I absolutely hated, and that in many ways characterizes the early 2010s. I don't think we have got enough distance on it to really come up with a movie that characterizes the late 2010s. There might not be one, to be quite honest. Your video on New Atheism have inspired me to reread the Bible and start attending my local Catholic church. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I should give you one advice. Don't start reading the Bible as a manual for why you should believe in God. The Bible assumes that you already believe in God before you start it. So that's oftentimes a mistake a lot of people make. Do you mind scrolling down a little bit? Do you think Heroes might be a better...
Can you figure out this puzzle for me?
Okay, I'll figure it out before I do the super chats.
I need to feed that mouse to that cat.
So how is the mouse...
This attracts the cat there. I'm trying to get the mouse to go there so the cat can go and eat him.
How does the mouse get... Can this move?
Yeah, that moves, but the mouse is stationary. And if you hit play, he just falls into oblivion.
Okay, but so can this be knocked back?
No, that's fixed.
At all?
What's not fixed is that egg timer, or that timer there, the balloon. And
balloon's
this
not fixed?
This is a cat food thing that attracts the cat there.
And he's just stationary here?
The mouse is stationary except for the little platform he's on.
Can the platform go any faster? Well, I like to hit. Okay, so he goes. We see you later.
Yeah.
Does this move?
No.
Obviously, the mouse doesn't move. Oh, this moves.
That moves, but I need to knock over those bricks to get that hamster wheel going. And I can either I can either set the thing off with the balloon or the falling baseball.
Well, couldn't we just hit the hamster wheel this way? Like.
You could, but.
This doesn't move? Oh, it does move.
Yeah.
So this could be up here, right?
Now,
so
what are we going to do with that
doesn't
thing?
attract him this way?
I guess not. What are we going to use that little thing with the pointy finger for?
Well, I don't know. Maybe we don't use it at all. I mean, maybe, can this be turned around?
Yeah, I think so. It can. Or maybe you could use it to...
Knock him over this way?
Well, no. Wait, maybe you could. But how?
Does it have to be turned on?
It's plugged in. Oh, wait. Stop. Okay. This can turn that on. This can turn this on. You can flip it over. There we go. Let's see what happens. And the problem is the mouse. I don't know how to get the mouse over farther.
Well, he needs a platform to go on, right?
Yeah, I just don't know how.
We don't have any more platforms.
That's it. Yeah, I don't know. I'm stumped. I don't know how to get the mouse over here.
Can it? Well, could we maybe does the? Can it go faster? Can it shoot him there?
How?
Well, I don't know.
That's just, I don't know, some bullshit experiment. Yeah, I'm stumped. Oh wait, does it just expand? Oh, come on.
Oh, come on. Really?
Really? All right. Adios.
Okay. Maybe we need to play a less cerebral. I mean, like, I feel like it was cheating almost, right? I mean, it's like...
What's cheating?
Well, I mean, no, it's not cheating, but it's just us not understanding what our pieces can do, right?
Well, we learn, right? Let's do magic. Heroes of Might and Magic.
Heroes of Might and Magic.
Yes, okay.
Okay, well, you have to start the game.
Yoink. No, we're not playing that. We're playing this. Yes.
You could always play StarCraft. It has to be windowed.
Oops.
Oh, good.
It is windowed.
Okay, so now we need to go to a window capture thing. Here, I guess. And then select Heroes of Might and Magic.
Right there.
There we go. And there you are.
Perfect.
Okay, can you get the chats back on? I need to add some more super chats.
Sure. Where are they? Here?
I think, yeah, that one. Okay.
I could probably reduce this. Hold on. No,
there are like a bunch of super chats that we skipped, right?
Let's have a boo. Thanks for keeping it cozy.
Thank you for that very generous super chat. Who sent that one again?
Michael
Robertson. Well, thank you very much, Michael Robertson. Okay.
That's rereading the Bible.
Okay, but we don't need to answer the at replies.
Oh.
Ducker for $5. Thank you for the cozy stream. Hopefully it can get some sanity back in this country. Keep up the good work. Well, I'm not so sure what's going to... Well, thank you very much, Ducker, for the super chat. I'm not so sure what can restore sanity to this country at this stage, but... I don't know. I feel conflicted. I really do. I don't know what's the right way to manage this. I think this country is just plain ungovernable, you know? I think the problem basically comes from our elites, which are totally out of touch with the mainstream reality that most people live through. And they've concocted all these ideological reasons why they don't need to listen to anybody other than themselves. And I'm not so sure what we can do in that environment. Can you scroll down? I can't see the next super chat there. Doe.
Oopsie.
I think you need to scroll up there.
There we go.
Okay. Mr. Blank for $5. Well, thank you very much, Decade, though. Mr. Blank for $5. If you want to have a new set of Catholic intellectuals, I think you're going to need a better papacy. Unpopular take, I know. Sorry, bro. I think that Catholics need to... I think this is the problem. I think Catholics are, and I think you'll agree with me, yes, Helen, I think Catholics are way too dependent on their clergy to basically authorize them to do politics. Or to do anything, really. If a priest is bad in a parish, nothing gets done.
Yes.
Okay, but that's a problem, right? Because you essentially have single point of failure on a class of, an American, there are some amazing priests in this country, but as a class of people, the American clergy are a very sleepy bunch of people. And I'm not so sure what to do about this. I think that we're going to have to find some way to politically organize and intellectually organize that does not involve going through the mainstream establishments of the church. Now, obviously, that's going to very much limit. It's going to very much gate our ability to actually come up with, I think, a really spiritual counter narrative to modernity. And I think we're probably going to have to wait until after the papacy of Francis to really break ground on that. I might agree with that, right? Although I pray that he changes his strategies and his approach to teaching. But I don't think that's sufficient to just sit on our thumbs and wait for the clergy to move. I think that there needs to be an organized group of laity that actually pushes people to change in this direction. And I'm not sure what to do because this year has just been a huge... socially, this year has been a complete write-off. We haven't done anything socially. And it's not hard to see why. I guess, if it hadn't been the lockdown, probably the baby would have made us a lot less social. But, even with the baby, we could have probably hung out with other Catholic couples that have kids by now.
Yeah.
And, it's just been like, teleconferences and Zoom meetings. And, after you do Zoom meetings for your ordinary job, you don't really feel like doing Zoom meetings to meet up with friends. The physicalness of meeting with people in a lot of ways characterize the whole motivation for it to begin with. I don't know. It's very difficult. Kit for £5. If you like talking about math, would you mind doing a stream nerd stream at some point? Perhaps also how a Stern contributes to wokeness. Can resist it. What is? Can you read that? Perhaps also.
Okay. If you like talking about math, would you mind doing a STEM nerd stream at some point? Perhaps also regarding how STEM contributes to wokeness or can resist
STEM.
It. Yes.
I have my glasses on. Oh, my glasses are here. I took the baby to the park, and he spent most of his time grabbing his glasses and pounding them into the soil.
Oh,
he was having such a good time, I couldn't stop him. But
discipline.
Okay,
discipline.
No Akira quoting, okay?
Oh,
okay.
Okay, no. That was Akira.
That was a joke. That was a joke.
He's our little
Child
boy
Protective Services.
Our boy's only, almost a year old. We don't.
Okay, yeah, never mind.
Yeah, we don't.
Let's go before they arrest us. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Or Stephen Molyneux comes and decides to lay down the law on us. Okay. A STEM nerd stream at some point. Perhaps also how STEM contributes to wokeness and can resist it. Well, I mean, STEM can't by itself. STEM is no more woke or unwoke than the people who actually do STEM. I think that the only thing that you can possibly do, I mean, this is sort of sad, but the only thing that can make STEM resist wokeness is to have people who are anti-woke do STEM. And the only way they're going to win against wokeness is, at this stage, if wokeness literally contributes to a major scientific scandal, maybe multiple major scientific scandals, because the scientific scandals that have been caused by wokeness today haven't really hurt them at all. By the way, guys, this is a very special game for me and Catholic Wench. We both played this as kids, and we still play it, I think.
Yeah.
This is Heroes of Might and Magic.
3. This is like 1997, I think it came out, right?
Yeah, this came out in 1997.
Wow. That's a long time.
Blast from the past. I mean, I would do Mathoma would be the ultimate STEM nerd. He's a great guy. He does videos on math proofs. He did a great video that I still think back to on how you can prove the central limit theorem, which is a core statistical result, by using a geometric representation. So it's like a Monte Carlo method of proving the central limit theorem. And I can't recall it off the top of my head. Huh? Yeah, I mean, he didn't invent it, but it was a great video, and he explained it very, very well. And I still think that it's a great thing. I would love doing that. But I have to say, like the way you resist wokeness as a STEM person, it's just making friends with other people in STEM who aren't woke. It's nothing super intellectual. It's really boring because STEM, if it's done correctly, resists ideology. And if art's done correctly, it also resists ideology to a lesser extent.
Wish. My God.
Well, I mean, so great art is influenced by ideology, but it has to hold it lightly. And that's the problem with these things is that, and this is something that the progressives have really lost over the last 10 years, is that they no longer can hold their ideology in a light way. And so their ideology becomes overbearing. And, I mean, it's sad because just as an appreciator of art, movies have just gotten terrible. It's like progressives literally can't appreciate anything unless they have their own message spoon-fed to them in every line. I mean, I never liked Star Wars, but you like Star Wars, and what happened? It's just... Yeah,
it became such a mess. I don't even remember the movies. That's how bad they were.
I remember more the fact that we bought, like, candy. Because you like buying candy at theaters, and Emma was like, no, we can't. Yeah, I'm like...
Speaking of which, do you mind if I put some popcorn in?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just auto-combat this. I'm sure I'll win.
Do you want me to play your game for you?
If you want.
I won't. I think I need to answer chats. Yeah, I guess the problem with STEM is that you need, like, the only way to talk about it is to do it. so it's hard to even imagine how a stream would go. I would love to help people by making tutorial videos, potentially. I would love to help people in giving them advice on what to study. But obviously, I'm not going to sit here and prove the central limit theorem or write it or go through my Stats 101 lecture notes. That would just bore everyone. So anyway, Distributist, have you read Infinite Jest? Thoughts? I have not read Infinite Jest. I've read the first few chapters, and I stopped. I liked it, but I've read David Foster Wallace's essays, and I really like them. So I constantly talk about David Foster Wallace, even though I haven't read his magnum opus. I heard it's really good. I mean, he was supposed to be sort of the new vision of the artist for the 21st century. For some reason, I can't disconnect David Foster Wallace from Kurt Cobain. I always felt like Kurt Cobain was supposed to be the future of rock and roll that never was, and then David Foster Wallace was supposed to be the future of intelligent literature for serious people that never was. And I felt ever since the death of alternative music, And ever since, the end of Lad Lit, we've basically been sucked into all of these literary trends that amount to, again, more or less just progressives repeating their own ideas in increasingly less disguised form, again and again and again and again. I'm seeing no more questions from the chat. Oh, here we go. Here's one. Oops. I saw a good reply about LARPing. I guess you didn't vote, huh? Well, no, I don't. I don't. This is a meaningless election from California's point of view, so no. I make a practice of not voting in elections that don't matter because I want to communicate to people. I mean, it's not out of laziness. Like, I could have voted. I used to be very, very attentive of voting and showing up early and doing all this stuff. But I want to set an example that one can be politically engaged and not participate in these farcical election kabuki theater, which is essentially what this is. I think that the conversations we're having in this state are unserious and kind of a joke, and I feel, frankly, really insulted by it. Right now, this looks like kind of shirking, a certain shirking of duty, perhaps. But I think we need to have a more mature conversation in this country. And that mature conversation has to be to break the narrative that our politics is entirely consumed by this 4-year cycle to determine who the next president is going to be. I think, what I really think is happening in this election, and I can already hear the popcorn popping, so maybe I shouldn't go off on this spiel while I'm getting noise interference, but maybe the video game would be better to look at. A great video game, by the way, if you're into retro games. At what point does trying to reclaim certain ways of doing things of the past just turn into LARPing, since we are far too removed from the context that created and necessitated them? Well, I mean, I think this is actually, there's sort of a long and a short way to answer this question. The short way to answer this question is that great things are true, good, or beautiful, and those three things are eternal. AKA, great things touch God. Things like books, in my opinion, are beautiful. Things like classical music, in my opinion, are beautiful. The fact that we have more technology does not mean that we discard these things. It does mean that we have to put more work into understanding them. Just like we had to put more work into understanding Aristotle. Just like we had to put more work into understanding anything from a previous age. But I think that discarding them or not discarding them and wanting to preserve these things that are difficult, like classical music, is not LARPing. It's just doing what's healthy and good. I get this from progressives, and in particular I got this from Faraday Speaks before he blocked me. He always used to say something like, Dave, you just want to go back to the past. You just want to... and he wouldn't have an answer for any of my contentions. He would just accuse it of being an old idea. And by virtue of it being an old idea, it would have to be false. This is kind of stupid. It's like a practice because it happened in the past is necessarily bad. The easy answer to this that a progressive will understand is that the caloric intake of most Americans has almost doubled, I think, in the last century, and has become absolutely unhealthy. So, in some sense, we need to go back to a more 19th century way of consuming food. And anyone who has a healthy diet has a more 19th century, on average, caloric intake. Or a more early 20th century caloric intake. Is that going back? Is having a healthy diet going back to the past? Well, I guess in a sense, and it's harder, right? It's harder because we are simulating having a more challenging environment and having less access to unhealthy foods.
I'll give you a healthy diet right here.
Popcorn? Well, I don't even really like popcorn.
Oh, sorry.
Well, But anyway, at any rate, this is what the conclusion for this, and the same thing is true with exercise too. When we do exercise, we are simulating a certain lifestyle that existed in the past. And this is what we're really coming to, and we'll have to face this head on with virtual reality. At some level, we're going to have to simulate difficulty for ourselves if we do not just want to be devoured by our own technology. And I think this is just going to have to be a decision human beings are going to have to come to through self-discipline and through a certain amount of self-destruction. I don't see any way around it. We can be. I don't think that there are some genuine way, and this is why this is not a short question, right? There are some genuine ways in which people LARP. They do things from the past that they don't have any use. They're not particularly beautiful. I mean, I think there's this stupid thing I used to do as I was a pretentious hipster, atheist, fedora wearer. I think I literally owned a fedora. I literally do own a fedora from that period of my life. And to kind of mark myself as a hipster, I had a straight razor. And this is, I mean, like one of those Sweeney Todd straight razors. You could kill someone with it. And this is a piece of technology that looks really cool. It's really cool if you can use it. And it is horribly inefficient, right? Even if you have a masterful control over the blade, and even if you hone it and strop it the hell and back again, at best, you can get a straight razor cut that works, about as good as a Gillette shave does. And it takes twice the time, and it inevitably misses a spot or two because it's very, very hard to wield this huge blade. The safety razor is a piece of technology that is genuinely useful. And that's stupid. I mean, why do we need to have a straight razor rather than a safety razor? I don't see the point. I guess, is it because we want to be really skilled with the blade? Well, maybe there's a better way to do that, right? I don't see why the safety razor is technology that's necessarily holding me back from something that is more beautiful. And so that's genuinely LARPing. But when it comes to preserving things that are beautiful or maintaining yourself as a person by imposing artificial difficulty, then I don't see really. I think that we have to, in some sense, impose limitations on ourselves, and that may look like LARPing from the outside. Are you trying to offer me popcorn?
No, I eat popcorn left-handed.
Oh. I like the smell of popcorn though. Thank you. It's part of the experience of going to the theaters. We haven't been to the theaters in a really long time, have we?
No, we haven't.
I kind of miss that, even though the movies are terrible.
Oh, insulting.
And they're just. I didn't even like Joker. I mean, I didn't think Joker didn't insult my intelligence, and because it didn't insult my intelligence, it was like so far above everything else. I also think that Midsommar. I mean, I don't know. I guess. I think
Midsommar overdid it with the gore and not so much on the story.
Yeah, it was. There was a better movie there that wanted to escape. Is there a way that we could not have the popcorn between myself and the microphone?
Right, we move the microphone over here.
Okay, so I guess you're not.
Your uncle.
Wonder how we look in this stream. Are we awful? Well, I mean, we did have a whole day of work and such. Has the election moved at all? They're probably not even counting at this stage. So how are you doing on Heroes of Might and Magic?
Oh, good, I think.
That's one that I didn't like about this game is that like the Beholder, which is like one of the most awesome creatures in Dungeons and Dragons, is just like this it looks like an animated mop. And it's like this little squeegee that decided to get up and have life,
No, not very menacing looking, is he?
Yeah, it looks like he basically looks like he basically looks like your calamari dish, who had a bad day, particularly pissed off calamari. A super chat from Endless Flourish for $5. Oh wait, I just answered this question. I'm sorry. When does... I guess he re-asked as a super chat. Well, thank you for the contribution. Thank you for the contribution. Even though I answered it before I knew it was a super chat because it was a good question. There's you could write a book on that question, and this answer to your question is just what I need to keep this stream going, because I don't think I could give a more complete answer. In essence, you need to have an understanding of what it means to be human and what it is to be true, good, and beautiful. And if you have those two things, a concept of holiness and a concept of humanity, then I think you can define what's LARPing and what's genuinely trying to be a better human. Simulated difficulty, going to work on your bicycle
when
is
I
good.
first became a Catholic, I was a total LARPer. Because I had to... Sorry to make you go off topic.
No. This is a good thing. This is excellent. But, I'm just self-reflecting when you said that.
Wait, it might be when our son mimics us, he's not LARPing. He's trying to immerse himself into behavior so he can understand it and learn it. Now, how is that different from LARPing?
Well, this is why this question is so complicated and so hard to answer, is that to a certain extent everybody fakes it until they make it. Right? Yeah, so the entire idea that, LARPing isn't always bad. It's only bad. I did this about 2 years ago. I did this series on nerd culture, and the last video I talked about what I call jokingly that it should be just law of LARPing. And I said LARPing only becomes bad. It's good if it's either really, really unserious or really, really serious. Mm-hmm. So if you LARP with the intention to actually become the thing that you're LARPing as, and you have a good idea of what that thing is, then it's good. And if you're kind of like have a good sense of humor about it, like if you're just dressing up as that thing and you understand that it's a big joke, then LARPing isn't so bad either. LARPing is only bad when you're not so sure whether it's a joke or not, because then most likely the joke's on you, right? There's this whole phenomenon of, a lot of pornography is ironic pornography, right?
I don't understand.
Well, it's like a lot of people who kind of like simp for women like Belle Delphine, right? They start doing it ironically, like as a LARP, and then they start becoming that thing,
believing
right?
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Believing in it a little more.
Yeah, exactly. And this is the problem. You can start doing something. I guess in that case, you're literally like LARPing as something that, I guess you're LARPing as her boyfriend, right? But it's obviously a lie. And the more you believe in it, the more you're participating in that lie, right? Ah. So I don't know. I think it's just the way to divide this, and it requires an expertise in psychology that I might be able to muster a better understanding of psychology on a good day, but probably not at 10:45 at night. Mm-hmm. So thank you for the question. I hope I answered it a little bit. But thanks, guys. I'm going to scroll down here, stealing away your mouse. Can you just scroll down for me?
Say when.
Okay, let's do it here. What are your thoughts on... Okay, I'll answer that one later. Scroll down a little bit more. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So someone from the chat asked me my thoughts on Wheel of Time. So Wheel of Time is like... How should I put this? It wanted to do what Game of Thrones did before Game of Thrones... Or it wanted to do what A Song of Ice and Fire did before A Song of Ice and Fire. So it wanted to do like a Tolkien world, but slightly more seriously and slightly more in-depth, with a slightly more realized notion of politics. And the author, unlike George R. R. Martin, was very, very prolific, and he would write these huge tomes of books, right? It was basically like a series that was comprised of, I think it was like 15 books by the end of it, and each book was about as long as War and Peace. Now, they were total page-turners, and I read some of them in high school. But that was one of the things that really got me out of fantasy, because I felt like there wasn't enough substance in it. There wasn't really a point to it. I remember I remember that reading them, I read them after Dune, and this is the thing, right? Like, this is how it worked. I read Dune, and then I'm really showing my hand here. I read Dune, and then I read the sequels to Dune. I didn't like them the first time I read them, right? I thought they were boring. I thought the adventure that was kind of the centerpiece of the original Dune was discarded, and I thought that was stupid. This was because I was, 13 or something, right? And then I discovered the Wheel of Time, which was kind of like a cross between Dune and Tolkien, because it had like this politics thing, and they even had like the same. They either had the same MacGuffin in Dune, where like only women can use magic or a certain kind of magic, and like the male protagonist is the only like male that can use magic or something like that. And then I kind of gone into these Wheel of Time books for a little bit, and I began to realize that there was really no point to them. Whereas Dune had this kind of deep look at human politics and society, and the author was actually trying to express a worldview. Robert Jordan didn't really seem to have any of that, and more than even that, it looked like the world he constructed made it impossible for any learning inside this fantasy world to carry over into the real world that we actually inhabit. And that was actually what made me appreciate the sequels to Dune a lot more, was that at least, even though they were, strictly speaking from a plot point of view, boring, because there was no big war going on, the author was trying to come to terms with an actual idea and a thesis that he was developing. And because of that, I kind of returned to the Dune books with new eyes. And it made me appreciate even Frank Herbert's lesser-known stuff, the Destination Void / Jesus Incident series that is really, 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 really esoteric science fiction, but kind of worth it if you want to dip your toe into it. I don't even know if Frank Herbert had a good idea of what he wanted to communicate with that series, but thanks for the not super chat, but let me go on to the actual super chat. Virile Journey for $5. Do you think faithful and or clergy are capable, lay people and or clergy are capable of producing a young pope, reverent, steadfast, and unapologetic in the near future? So you mean like the actual pope from the young pope? Well, I think that it's inevitable that you're going to get it. I can't comment on whether the person will actually be elected pope, but I absolutely think that there will be a new class of high agency clergy that will be an extreme minority position inside the church. And because of that, they will find themselves into some position of leadership eventually. There's this old Chinese quote that Mencius Moldbug and also the Franklin, I think, are quite fond of. It's horribly Confucian, and it's not even very true. The Confucian quote goes something like, "Power naturally flows to him who is worthy," right? And this is sort of, it's not true per se. What is true is that power naturally flows away from people who are unworthy, and because of that, you might imagine that. You might imagine that power flows towards people who are worthy, and that actually isn't true. Being worthy is a necessary prerequisite for holding power, but is not sufficient. And that's the great tragedy of the human race. If it wasn't, then we would always have great leaders, right? So what I think is going to happen is that there are going to be a number of very, very high agency, devout clergy who come up and develop followings around them, and that these people will eventually be recognized with some form of leadership, probably in the form of a bishopric, God willing, a cardinalship, and that this will have some force in the church going forward, and that if the trends that are going on currently persist, eventually we'll see a collapse of progressive Catholicism. However, I don't expect a collapse of progressive Catholicism to happen inside my lifetime. I expect that to be something that happens more in my son's lifetime. I think Francis does not show that progressive Catholicism is sustainable, because I don't believe it is. But he definitely shows that it has a longer lease on life than I think a lot of conservatives and reactionaries and traditionalists of the John Paul II era thought was possible, or likely, I should say. So I think we're going to have come up with a contingency that really relies on having devout Catholicism being a powerful but minoritarian influence in its own church. And I think this is going to really rely on us being responsible and being good leaders and knowing a way to live in parallel with the less based branches of our own faith. I'm not so sure exactly how possible that is. P.S. for $5. I have no mouth and I must scream. God be with you. Thank you very much. I really hope that that's not a description of the state you occupy, but rather a call out to the highly reactionary short story. Who wrote that? Do you want to look that up?
What we're talking about here?
It's a story called I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. I'm blanking on the author.
Oh.
So the I think it's a short story. I read it at some stage. Harlan Ellison. There we go. It's a classic sci-fi short story about so AI fights a battle against humanity and wins, and it decides that it's going to torture humans for the rest of forever, or the last 5 humans for the rest of forever. So it's contrived this advanced hell state for them, where it's modified their bodies to where they're just horrible parodies of humanity. And it's about people's reaction to this, and several of them are able to commit suicide as rebellion against this horrific AI presence. And this is essentially, it's relating a sort of Landian, a Nick Landian problem that's called the basilisk, or Rocco's basilisk. I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but it's a horror end state of the universe where AI wins, and it can ensure its victory is more likely by promising to and then making good on a threat to enact horrific vengeance upon the humans that do not help in its ascendancy. And there are a few logical games involving simulations that demonstrate how this is the case. You're not supposed to talk about it because talking about it makes it more likely to happen. Very, very strangely.
What's that short story by a sci-fi author about this like AI that's holding like a small group of people captive?
That's I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream.
Wow, I totally missed that.
Is that unless you're talking, is it maybe there's another sci-fi novel about
this isn't a novel, this is a short story I'm talking
about.
about.
I believe that's the one. I mean, I don't know, maybe there could be another one, right? I mean, like what happens in this? Do you remember what happens?
Dan, he won't let them die.
Yeah, that's
it. Oh, no way.
This must be the same.
I've been trying to find out the title for that for a long time, because I remember someone reading it to my Catholic group, and I was kind of entranced by it and a little horrified by it, and I just couldn't remember.
That's the book.
Oh, wow.
If you want to find it.
Yay.
Well, thank you very much. P.S. I guess the book they used to horrify Helen's Catholic group will be located again.
I think like someone walked out in the middle of that story because they found it a little too shocking, or they found it inappropriate.
Yeah, you could do it with The Road too, I imagine, another super depressing book.
Cool. Want me to keep going down?
Honestly, let me just see these chats really quickly. I just need to absorb them. Whoa.
Sorry.
Good. Okay. I need control of the wheel.
Just use the damn mouth.
This is public.
Hi.
We swear we are a devout Catholic couple.
I'm a devouring Catholic couple.
God, this stream is not going to stay on my channel. We'll put it on your channel. How about?
Just put all the bullshit on my channel. That's what it's for.
That's kind of what we do with your channel. We park.
I was a little surprised you're putting this on your channel.
Well, I mean, it's just so we can jabber during the election, right? I mean, this is.
We haven't really talked about the election much.
Well, we haven't. I mean, we haven't got any questions about the election. I'm here to answer people's questions. People probably are tired about people talking about the election, right? Maybe they're not. Maybe they want to. Maybe they want me to. I don't know. I figure that the election. Okay, this is exactly. I'm absorbing some questions about the. Okay, Sai Sarub for 200 yen says, sin makes you stupid, implies sin makes your STEM work bad, implies build a STEM-focused, parallel, reactionary community that can't be canceled because the rest of society is dependent on it for STEM. Thoughts? Well, yes, that's absolutely true. This would be a great idea if social justice devours the STEM area of the university. For the time being, they've been smart and they haven't done that, and it's still not a threat to the grant writing apparatus of the STEM area of the university system. Chinese people still want to send their children to get STEM degrees at American universities, and because of that, we will. I think I think amateur science is always really good. As a matter of fact, it turns out that amateur science tends to be of higher quality than science done with grants in mind, right? And that's because it's usually done for better motivations. So maybe, Mencius Moldbug's idea of an antiversity will actually come to pass. But in the meantime, I don't think that we're going to... The cathedral, unless it really screws up, and it probably will screw up this way eventually, but until the point where it literally decides to kill the goose that lays the golden egg and sincerely hamper its own STEM departments from obtaining grants, then the grant writing apparatus through the university system, the grant writing and grant obtaining apparatus of the accredited university system will remain dominant. Although I still think that it's a good idea to try to develop independent science and academic sources in light of that. I think that this is, it's win-win, right? I encourage people to try to publish outside of their field. It's just a really, really good experience. I've done it. It broadens you as an intellectual. It's just a good thing. If you have something you're interested in, just read what the academic literature is. Try to get the relevant papers however you can through friends who work in the academy. They usually can get them from you, and then you can use that as a jumping off stage. And if you have someone else in the field who's willing to work as a co-author, it's a really great opportunity. I highly encourage people to do that. As a matter of fact, I think Academic Agent does that. I don't think he's an economist, but I think he's published papers in economics journals. There's nothing wrong with that. If anyone tells you there's something wrong with amateur science, they're probably either an intelligent person who's being self-interested, or they're one of those increasingly common midwits who constantly needs to lord over their academic credentials and doesn't actually care about the development of ideas. And I won't name YouTubers who I think meet that description. There seem to be an increasingly large number of them on the left and moderate left these days. I'm going to need to scroll down a little bit. Okay. Fighting over the mouse.
Fighting bitterly.
God, did I miss anything? Someone says, get inside on the LARP. I have to skip that to comment. Cared for books of reformer atheists. Someone asked me for recommendations for former atheists. If you haven't read Orthodoxy, I'd read that. It's always really, really hard to... It's always... for a former atheist who's warming up to Christianity, Peter Kreeft's reading list probably would be a good idea, right? But it's just not a good idea for that to be a reading list for a generally...
for your bucket list, right?
Yeah, it's a terrible bucket list. It's a good, I want to warm up to Christianity. My personal favorite in this regard is Alistair MacIntyre's After Virtue, G.K. Chesterton's Orthodoxy, and C.S. Lewis's Abolition of Man. Those are probably my top 3 I'm warming up to Christianity. C.S. Lewis's Abolition of Man also has the distinction of being what I consider to be a core reactionary text. It's a good follow-up to something like Industrial Revolution and its Discontents by well-known terrorist Uncle Ted. But I can't recommend that book enough. But I'm probably not thinking of a lot of other good books that would be good follow-ons for the atheist who's warming up to Christianity. There's tons of books like that. There are tons. Also for fiction, something like Dostoevsky's The Brothers Karamazov is great too. It's just stepping into the huge amount of 19th century literature that comes from the sophisticated Christianity that we seem to have lost in present year. It's hard for me to necessarily psych you out and guess which is the right book to speak to you. Like The Brothers Karamazov it's so prominent in my own mind that it's hard for me not to mention that one. But it's fiction. I mean, who knows if that book will speak to you in that way, right? The same thing is true for Flannery O'Connor. I mean, who knows, right? Anything interesting going on in the election, which we should be talking about?
The numbers haven't budged on the Associated Press briefing of the numbers. That comes up the first thing you punch it in Google is election results. They haven't moved. Pennsylvania's been at 64% for the last hour.
Are they offering probabilities on who's going to win?
No. Biden. We're live. The baby.
I feel like there's going to be a Krusty the Clown. Oops, I said the soft part loud.
Loud part quiet. What's this here? Okay. There we go. Okay. Biden is giving a talk about how they believe they're still on track to winning. And then Trump wants to give a talk about how he believes he's on track to winning.
Well, we knew this was going to happen, right?
From what I'm looking at, it looks like Trump is on track to win, but just by a hair. That's what it looks like to me.
I mean, there's all these absentee ballots, right, that are in the mail.
Right, but I thought they count those first in a lot of states.
Well, what about ones that are post-dated but haven't come in yet?
Maybe it's too late to, count them.
Really? I mean, has a court ruled on that yet? I don't think that anyone's going to win by a hair. They're both will declare victory, right?
Wisconsin, 90% of the votes are counted. 51.3% for Trump, 47.2% for Biden, and it's 10 electoral votes. I think that's so close, and I don't even think absentee ballots will be able to flip it over.
I mean, from what we're seeing now, I think that Tucker Carlson is absolutely correct. I mean, I think that it looks like the Democrats are getting punished for the riots they fomented this summer, right?
Good.
Good.
They'll say it's right-wingers' fault. We're the ones who incited the violence, Well, some people buy that.
Oh, yeah, that's some family members
have.
We've talked to them about this, and they're like, "What do you mean riots? Those are all right-wingers out there burning things down."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's disturbing, actually.
Dreadnought for $5. I think you and the Helen. Hey, he has your nickname.
The Helen.
I call Helen the Helen all the time.
Definite article. I like it.
I think you and the Helen should stream Alien Isolation. It would be awesome. We don't really own that game. I mean, it couldn't be a stream like this where we're just shooting the breeze, right?
We own XCOM. Is that sort of similar?
No, Alien Isolation is a horror game where you're like going through the ship trying to evade.
Is it first person, like shooter?
Yeah, it's first person, like shooter, but you're not shooting the alien, you're trying to have it stop you from eating you.
Oh, cool.
It's like trying to recreate the mood of the original Alien.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening.
That's all I would say. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's kind of like a PewDiePie game where like you're doing this like horror streaming game. I mean, maybe it would be good. We've had a really hard time streaming 3D through OBS. Mm-hmm. That's never worked well for me. Has that worked well? Maybe if, we really need to find some room in this house where we can get our internet to full speed and our acoustics good, because this room's terrible for acoustics.
Can I have the mouse? Can I play?
Can you scroll down a little bit? Thank you very much, Dreadnought, for the super chat.
Thank you, Dreadnought. And thank you for the definite article.
Ding.
Ding.
Keep talking about the election. The
erection.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, streamer from somewhere in Asia.
Why don't you vote, Dave?
I don't vote in elections that don't matter. Because I'm in California, it doesn't matter. And moreover, I want to send the message that there is...
That none of these people represent you?
Yes. I mean, to me, I want to not be a Trump vote. I mean, I in terms of his policies, I certainly support Trump more than Biden, right? Mm. But I think it's given that I'm not influencing the actual election, right?
But if enough people believe that actually has enough impact to sway the election one way or another. You know that, right? If 10 million people in California are like, why bother? That's actually if they share your sentiment on that, right? That actually, you know what I'm talking about.
You're saying it's not Kantian, which
it's not Kantian.
I believe I can do more good not voting, but this is my least favorite video on my channel is one that's called "Why I Don't Vote." I think that voting is a really ineffective way. It has very, very low opportunity cost. Well, it has very low opportunity payoff, I should say. I guess it has low opportunity cost as well. I mean, it's, an hour or so. I don't know. Are you going to win this battle?
Of course I'm going to win this battle.
The only kind of battles you engage in.
Yeah.
Battles you already know you're going to win.
Yeah.
Do people play this game competitively?
I don't know. I don't see how.
There's no competitive circuit to play Heroes of Might and Magic.
Maybe we should investigate that.
It seems like an unpleasant experience, though, right? Wouldn't they just take ages to finish a game?
Yeah,
it's not like StarCraft where it's over in 20 minutes.
10 hours. Yeah, that'd be intense.
Okay, so do you want to scroll down on the...
That'll keep you busy.
Okay, okay, yeah, I guess voting in California, it augments the popular vote. But I don't think this is exactly the kind of brinksmanship that I really think is destructive. Okay, well, I can be part of the anti-Biden coalition that's used politically to hammer the Democrats in the news. I think this is not how I think responsible leaders should think about politics at all. And I feel that I need to, in some sense, model this. I need to model this rather than trying to be just a body against the Democrats. I don't agree with this be a body against the Democrats perspective. I just think it's not, and it's destroying our country. That I honestly believe that it's destroying our country. And the only way that anything good is ever going to come out of our problems here is if we somehow think beyond this perspective of like brinksmanship and using like this optical thing against the opponent, even though it has zero policy impact. I'm just this game is not working for anybody anymore, and I want to be able to model the fact that I don't participate in this ridiculous game. And I won't do this to be pretentious or anything. I think this is just something that people need to. There needs to be a revelation that politics is broken, and I only feel that I can witness to that by abstaining. Do you think a third university accreditation system, blah, blah, blah? I already talked about accreditation. I don't think that's really a good question for the stream.
There you go.
My eyes are just focusing. Shivitist, by the way, it was rupees, not yen. Love from India. Well, thank you very much. I've never been to India. Have you?
No. I have not.
If there's one place in India I could go, it'd probably be Goa. I had a friend who came from Goa, and it seemed like a good place. It was Portuguese until like the 70s or something like that.
Well, yeah, I know of some Goans who have like Portuguese/Spanish sounding last names.
Yeah.
So
it's the place to be, I hear. Oh, good Lord. There's questions about Pope Francis on civil unions.
Oh, no.
So apparently several swing states are refusing to count ballots, too.
Maybe that's why it's taking forever. Why would they refuse to count ballots?
They don't want to go for Trump too early. I think they want to come in later.
Pourquoi? What sort of advantage would they have by doing that?
More absentee ballots will be counted, that's for sure. So they don't want to come out for Trump unless they absolutely have to, right?
Lame sauce.
One thing they did get right, though, is the Medusas being the Harry Hounson Medusa. I always like
from that movie?
Jason and the Argonauts?
Yeah.
Yeah. I always thought the Medusa from that movie that was one of the great classic scenes in monster movies.
That was scary.
Yeah.
I was scared by that.
When I was a little kid, the thing that really scared me was the Cyclopses from the Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Something about the sound they made just echoes in my memory. I must have seen that when I was really young, because that movie stuck with me.
I saw Last of the Mohicans when I was like 5 or 6.
Where the guy tears out the other person's heart.
Yeah, I remember I told you about that. I was like, that's really mean. But I'm not afraid
Canadians still say that. They're like, oh, hey, you think someone's hard. That's mean.
How rude, eh? Yeah.
And those were Canadian Indians.
Were they? The Last of the Mohicans?
There are Mohawks.
Isn't that American?
That tribe spans between America and...
Oh, yeah, okay. All right. Well, there you go. They scalped people and ripped out hearts. There you go. Moving right along.
Okay. Blah, blah, blah. Can you scroll down a little bit? In a controlled fashion?
Pennsylvania stopped counting for the night?
I thought they counted through the night. Like, they're just like, we need to take a nap. There's a good...
Was it like 3 a.m. over there?
Sleepy. Well, yeah, but, I mean, they have shifts, though, right? And this is important. This is only who controls the, this is only the executive body of the most powerful military force on the planet, Mm-hmm. Oh, God. We this is just clown world stuff.
Clown world. Oops, I'm running out of money. All right. Ooh.
There are 2 super chats, and I don't see any of them.
Fine.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oops.
Where did those go? I guess we skipped them. Okay. Dreadnought for $10. I would be happy to super chat you $200 to stream Alien Isolation or a Codex. What was a Codex? Alien, in my opinion, is very reactionary horror. Other streamers other streamers cuss too much. Well, you don't need to stream me that much money. I appreciate the offer. And well, maybe we could stream video games on your channel. If you want to see us stream like this, where I don't have a plan or a lecture or anything, definitely subscribe to my wife's channel, because we'll be doing most of the stuff there. Probably this stream will live there after we finish streaming tonight.
Ted Wheeler won.
I forget who that is.
Portland's mayor.
Oh, good. Oh, my God.
Hey, well, did you see that other freak that was running for mayor? She had like
a
skirt with like marks.
God. Yeah, that was like a communist versus a shitlib. Oh. Is that going to be our country?
Yeah. Well, at least it's going to be Portland. Can I play my game?
Yeah.
Cool.
That's good. Wow. I mean, what would be... I don't know. If we could stream 3D games, would you want to stream a game for us to play? Alien Isolation? I don't know.
Skyrim would be too hard.
Well, I mean, Skyrim. Does anyone want us to watch a playthrough of Skyrim?
I'm willing to try that game. He says it's reactionary. When was it made? Do you know?
2013, I think.
Oh.
2014.
So it's probably got good graphics and stuff.
It's got good graphics.
It's not like this archaic POJ.
No, it's not. It's not. I remember them being complimented because they completely redo, they to a T completely reconstruct the Nostromo, like to a T.
Wow.
It looks exactly like the set of Alien one.
Oh, I'm surprised I never heard of that game.
Endless Flourish for $5. Opinion on the technology question: is Uncle Ted right? As someone who loves tech, how does one integrate an understanding of it with one's life? Well, I mean, Uncle Ted is way too extreme. We do not need to destroy technology to control technology, right? Under democracy, you might need to destroy technology to control technology. Did I say the sentence correctly?
Yes.
But under responsible guardians of intelligent people, technology can be properly controlled. I believe technology can be properly controlled in a way that we do not need to limit it. We can have computers, we can have computer science, we can have potentially even video games without having our entire society consumed by these horrific addictions that have emerged in the population really in the last 20 years. I mean, I remember that graph of young women becoming horribly depressed. The rates of depression among young women in their 20s has more than doubled.
And sexual confusion.
Yeah. So you're going to have like a female population that's 30% depressed, 30% lesbian, and 10% transgender. I mean, that doesn't sound like a very... I mean, I'm sure there's some overlap in that group. I mean, but that's horrific. And to an extent that's ideologically, the progressives are dumping gasoline on the fire, right? But the fire, in some sense, to a large degree, is technological in origin. And so we need to massively curtail how social media can be used. I don't know how to do this. Maybe the political system needs to change. But at any rate, it needs to change. I don't see how total technological destruction is the solution. In any way. I think that this is just Ted Kaczynski himself having his imagination captured by the constraints of neoliberalism and this idea that democracy has to completely rule everything and all of our decisions, and anything has an aristocratic element to it is oppressive. I think that's something that's we need to. There needs to be a constant discussion over whether technology is good or not. Just not a default assumption that because we invented it, it must be good. So I hope that answers the question. So we are approaching 2 hours.
Okay.
We probably can get to the end of the chats or super chats. Maybe we can say that this is the end of the super chat. And
sure.
And we'll do the chats that still are in the stream, but I know you're tired, and I guess I'm tired too. It's amazing how much a full work day and.
Well, having a kid, he kind of, God bless him, sucks the life out of you sometimes. We
went to the park today, and he had a blast.
Good.
Well, he had a blast destroying my glasses, but it was still good. And it was such a welcome. I was looking at all these people glued to their phones in the park, and I'm like, I don't care. I might care, but it's just this.
That's unfortunate.
The whole society has stopped because we don't know how to manage our political system anymore. I mean, Bausch is sort of in my mind is just the example of how if there's one characteristic phrase that defines present year, 2020, it's we can't keep living like this. We can't keep doing politics like this. It's exhausting. It's taking years off of our lives. You hear stories of people like divorcing each other over like who they vote for as a president.
Yeah, it's such bullshit.
Like you hear like what the heck's going on? I mean, that's not healthy in any way, shape, or form.
Not psychologically healthy.
No.
No, it's not. Inside joke.
Yeah, but
never mind.
How's your game going?
Good. I mean, I haven't really ran into any adversaries yet. I'm just kind of trucking along here.
You're just mowing down people?
Well, I'm mowing down creatures so I can get resources. I'm not really going anywhere. I'm just kind of dicking around, if you will.
Mm. Well, it seems like you're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm fine. I haven't lost any of my heroes. I did put it on the easiest setting.
These castles are, like, the factions in this game are not balanced.
No. I find the one with the wizards, what do they call the towers? They're awfully expensive in comparison.
Yeah.
Right? And with what you get, too.
I think I have another super chat here, and I have another super chat in the...
You read that one? Uncle Ted loves tech.
I need to check entropy and...
can you auto-combat that?
Is this auto-combat?
Yeah, it's auto-combat. Thank you.
Let's check entropy Streamlabs here. Okay, good. This is... Okay, so the last super chat of the night is Mr. Blank for $5. Look, everyone, if it's Trump, we will only know it at a very late hour and by a hair's breadth, enough for there to be a reasonable doubt. And that's, I think, the only thing is that they only want there to be a reasonable doubt, right? So the election can be contested, right? Mm. I think ultimately that's the fate of these things. I already answered the Hunter Viding thing. There was one that came in before I started entropy. Okay, so Ethereal Dunce for £10 in the United Kingdom here, so Probs won't be able to make this stream, but love the videos. Aware of a musician or harpist, Joanna Newson? Her music can be quite reactionary in tone and theme. Recommend heavily. All the best. Well, have you ever heard of this person, Joanna Newson?
Joanna Newsom.
Sounds like a classical musician.
No, I know that name. I've heard it. Dave, you're shaking the floor here. Okay,
I'm obviously growing tired, so I'll have to quit this at some stage because otherwise I'm just going to completely tap out. Trump's on now. So is he?
Let's have a look. Okay. Do you want me to put it on? Do you want to put it on the computer?
No. Just, I don't think we should watch a video at this stage. Okay. You don't have to. We can watch it offline. I think we've answered all of the questions here. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind doing more game streams. I always feel it's sort of confusing because I have this chat and also the game at the same time. I'm also have you, and I always feel like I'm ignoring one of them, right?
Right. Well, it's fine. Are you done? Is there anything else you'd like to say?
You mean, okay. Well, I mean, there's super chat there.
Okay.
So I have to answer that.
Go ahead.
You can scroll. Okay, guys, we'll end at 11:30, okay? No entropy link in description. Please update for $5. Well, thank you very much. You're right. I don't have... Entropy link is a continuous link, isn't it? So I can just put it in the description straight up. I'll need to do that in the future. Sorry for forcing you to give money to Google, but... it's just the time issue. That's just something that's been difficult. So can you transfer creatures between palaces without moving them? No. Okay.
You can with the devil ones. You get like a castle gate, and you can go from castle to castle no matter where they are on the map. But that's just that one castle that can do it. Inferno. That's what
yeah. Okay. I see Unism. I love your Mencius Molebug readings. I don't even know what Unism is, other than the fact that I know that it incorporates some Luddite tendencies, which I respect. But again, I think that technological control cannot be... Technological control has to be the answer. Technological destruction cannot be the answer, and that's really the conclusion that's the only conclusion that the human race can come to. I'm convinced. This unbounded technological political reign is just leading us nowhere fast.
Silly.
I don't know how we're going to control social media, though. I just don't know how.
Well, that's the thing. You don't want it to be under control at the same time because of the whole free speech thing. So any kind of control over it is going to affect free speech, right?
The problem, obviously, is kind of like if someone can get political clout from social media by just being a sensationalist, that's terrible. That's going to destroy society, right? That's like, I mean... Maybe I'm part of the problem as well. I like to think that I'm not, right? But, this vouch phenomenon has really made me think, is this something that we can sustain at any time across any period of time? Because vouch gives people exactly what they want. They want to have sort of simple answers, and they want to have ownage. Bausch is sort of the left-wing equivalent of the feminist-owned video. Are you going to die here?
Probably.
Oh, you sound like you're taking them out, all right?
I can't use my spells, and they're just wiped.
Why can't you use your spells?
Because I'm on cursed ground.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that Minotaur is tanking him up.
They killed over half my Minotaurs already.
Well, they only got one more guy left.
They always do double damage. I swear this game's rigged.
Would you consider doing self-help? It's a common but true answer.
Ouch.
Okay, I don't understand this question from the chat. Someone's asking me, would I consider doing self-help? Which I guess is like, would I consider writing self-help, or would I consider getting self-help for myself? I guess I'd say yes to both of them, considering my next video is literally advice for myself in my 20s. So I guess wish granted, because that's the video I'm currently working on. I have a series called Culture War and Content Creation, where essentially I try to do this, I try to do MicroStrategy as an entire series, and it'll be part of that series ongoing. Maybe we should have a more defined technology using priest class.
I'm going to check on the offspring. I'll be right back, okay?
Well, I think we're about to wind down the stream, so I think we'll say goodnight to...
Winch. Yeah.
Catholic Wench / the Helen.
Bye.
Well, so this is a very strange stream, but thank you for your patience, and I certainly don't have enough energy to do 8 hours tonight, for sure. But for the question from the chat, self-help in the form of my advice for myself in my 20s is my next video. So, at this stage, maybe I can just call it a night and wish people a happy election. I'm sure maybe I'll give a little bit of a walk down from this. This election has... I've been kind of dreading this election because I just think that there's no good options. I do agree with Trump on policy more, if nothing else for his pro-life stance, which I'm sure is not sincere, but who cares if it's not sincere, right? But I don't really believe that this election is about policy. I believe this election is about how governable this country is. And the only way we're going to get solutions is if the elites in this country come to the conclusion that unless they essentially try to bring Red America into their ruling coalition, this country is utterly ungovernable. And I don't think they've really come to terms with this at all. And not only have they not come to terms with this, they've crusaded against this realization at all levels. And so my fear with a Joe Biden victory is complacency in our ruling class. And my fear with a Trump victory is that the right wing is going to grow complacent and they're going to fall into Steve Turleyism, and they're going to believe that we have this all figured out, which of course we haven't. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say that I want to immanentize the eschaton, but I want a wake-up call for both sides. And it seems to be that if anyone wins this election, they'll take the exact wrong lesson from this, and that's what I really dread. And for this reason, I don't really know what to hope for, to be quite honest. All I can do is hope for the best, and then hope for the greatest amount of wisdom among our leaders, which they've shown themselves to be kind of unworthy of that expectation. So whatever the outcome is, I think we have our work cut out for us. And I hope that everyone here, and especially those on the right, can be equal to the task of that work. So with that sentiment, I'd like to thank everyone for their contributions. And I hope everyone has a very safe election night and a safe rest of the week, given the uncertainty that we all know is going to be proceeding from this election. So with that, have a great night.